Batman should drink some lemonade spiked with Abu Rabi Zimbo too. Now I'm open to suggestions.
I also drank some lemonade that was spiked with temper tonic.
Are you suffering from these or any number of life's ailments? Well, we have a simple solution for this here at the Batcave It's the Batgirl Universal Antidote Pill. We don't know what it's made of, we don't know what components go into it, but it seems to cure almost any problem you may be suffering from.
Yes! Nobody can stop me now, and nobody can tell me what to do.
That seemed to do the trick.
Less serious side effects may include cold symptoms such as stuffy nose, sneezing, sore throat, drowsiness, dizziness, feeling nervous, mild nausea, upset stomach, constipation, increased appetite, weight changes, sleep problems such as insomnia, decreased sex drive, impotence, or dry mouth.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to do the shame episode of the podcast, remember?
My stomach hurts.
A side effect?
No. That's just me thinking about doing another Batcave podcast.
I don't feel so bad anymore.
Good. You'll be ready to talk Minerva later.
And I'm angry again.
The Batgirl Universal Antidote for all the problems that ail you. Not FDA approved. Welcome back, citizens, to an all-new episode of the Batcave Podcast. It's your old bat chum, John S. Drew here, and we're taking a look at another Catwoman episode. But, again, we've got a different Catwoman. We've got Eartha Kitt along, but this time around, we've also got the Joker in the form of Cesar Romero. He's still the same. Now, how do these two work together compared to when the Joker, Cesar Romero, played against Lee Merriweather as the Catwoman? It's kind of interesting to see because I kind of feel that it's almost a shame we didn't get an actual Julie Newmar, Cesar Romero team up in the second season. Now, joining us once again to talk about this version of the Catwoman is podcaster extraordinaire, the host of the Weekly Podioplex, Mr. Michael Falkner. Welcome back to the podcast, Michael.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Now, we were kind of talking off mic before this started here, and you seemed a little annoyed at this one. Did I get the right feeling from this?
Yeah, kind of a behind the scenes, behind the curtain kind of thing for the listening audience. I mean, we've had a couple of snags in trying to get this one recorded, yes. And I had watched it 2 or 3 times in preparation. I've got copious notes written up. It came time to fire up the microphone for this one, and I thought last night, I really probably ought to watch this set again. And then something in the back of my brain just said, no, you will not. So, yeah, it's been an interesting episode.
I got to admit, I felt the same way. I didn't go back and watch it again. Instead, what I did was, as I'm looking at my notes, I'm like, what did I mean by this all of a sudden? And I was like, let me just make sure. And I checked scenes, but I couldn't bring myself to watch the whole thing. As a kid, I remember liking this, maybe just because it was Joker and Catwoman teamed up, but watching it as an adult, it's a little painful.
It is. Yeah. It is.
Well, these episodes are called The Funny Feline Felonies and The Jokes on Catwoman. They aired December 28th, 1967 and January 4th, 1968. So we're getting to the end here because Batman ended on March 14th, 1968. So we've only got about a little over 2 months left before the series is over. We open up with Joker being let out on parole, and once again, Warden Crichton is right there wishing him well. I like this whole scene, but I do have one question. Why is Bruce the head of the parole board?
Yeah, I didn't understand. I think it's more just a matter of convenience for him to be there so that he could see this all going down.
Well, see, again, this is also then, and not that Batman was ever great on continuity, but Batman was a parole officer in the second season for Catwoman. And he was terrible at it. He admits it himself. So you name him the head of the parole board?
Well, they were promoting mediocrity. It's all good.
Yeah. Do you know what I do love, though, about this whole scene? And this is indicative of TV shows of the 60s and 70s where the cast start getting more comfortable in the role because the actors, their hair starts looking a little shaggier. I mean, Adam looks almost like a beatnik in this scene.
Yes, he does.
I still remember Emergency, the early seasons where they had the straight, probably department regulated haircuts. And then as you get into the 4th, 5th, 6th seasons of the show, suddenly the hair just starts growing out. He's incredibly, though, subdued in this scene. A lot more than usual.
Yeah, it's really interesting because with him being subdued like that and then kind of playing the humor of the situation. I mean, the Joker is off because he looks so weird in that civilian suit of his. And then it's like, hey, we're letting you go. Here's $10 for your trouble. Really?
To get you started on your new life. $10.
Right. Don't spend it all in one place. But I did like the kind of humor in there where you're expecting the cigars to explode. Everyone's expecting it, even the character. And then they just don't do it. It's like, oh, okay, I see what you did there. It's you're setting us up for a bigger fall later, but it's something that is totally out of character for the Joker. Totally
out of character, and just his whole calmness on him. And I mean, it's well played on Caesar's part. On Adam's part, I'm thinking this is like one of these episodes where Adam is just like realizing how dumb the show has become and he's starting to give up. But Caesar, he's playing it more low-key because that's all part of the act. Like you say, the cigars, we expect them to explode. But then there's also these little touches where he'll be like, I used to light cigars with these, or I used to have my suits tailor-made. Like, this is common threads, but they'll do. Yeah. There's that little wistfulness, and it's like, okay, this isn't going to last long. So off he goes. And Catwoman pulls up in her Catmobile.
You want a lift, big boy?
Make it look good, Catwoman. Pull a gun on me the way we planned. They're probably watching us.
Get in this car or I'll blow whatever little brains you have out.
She's kidnapping me! Honest!
I love this car, but I'm not sure about the color.
Yeah, it is very ostentatious.
It's that, and also just looking at it, I'm thinking more of, because it's green, I'm thinking it looks more like it could be a Joker mobile.
Yeah, or even a Riddler mobile in a sense.
Right. Now, I asked about this at the on our Batcave page because I actually posted a picture of the car itself, not as looking all Catwoman decked out. It was actually prior to that, and William Shatner's leaning on it in his Kirk outfits. Now, I'm just trying to pull up here, because I forgot to do that. Gene Winfield's reactor car. It was called a reactor.
Yeah, it made the rounds in 60s sci-fi, didn't it?
Yes, and also some sitcoms as well. It appeared on Bewitched.
Yeah, I remember the iconic photo of Shatner in uniform as Captain Kirk leaning against it, kind of as a promo. I think Leonard Nimoy was in some of the shots too.
Oh,
if I remember right.
I'll have to look that up.
But I think it was I don't know exactly, but it seems like it was a major icon of kind of the era. Kind of these are the futuristic or kind of out there stories, kind of like Batman, where it's supposed to be out there superhero type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Now, on the one hand, I'm thinking to myself, because, they've been slashing the budgets here and there, left and right, with a lot of the stuff. And then yet we can afford to bring out the Catwoman mobile. But then it's not like this car got a whole lot of custom design the way the Batmobile did. It just had props attached to it.
Yeah.
But it still made me wonder, like, if we had gone to a 4th season of Batman, would we have eventually, because we're now moving into the 70s, would we have moved into a different Batmobile as part of the new season?
It's a good question. I mean, because they did try to stay, somewhat relevant to the era in filming.
Right. Exactly. Now, Bruce offers to call Gordon while Crichton sends his men after the two. And I've got to wonder, there's a couple of weird things about this whole scene in the Batcave, because he calls Robin, to tell him that the call's going to be going through from Gordon to Batman and to link it all through. First off, we see that Robin must be doing some sort of cleaning of the Batmobile. And if you look, he's got some weird red leggings on.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're supposed to be. We don't see them again in the next shot of him, which is also another weird shot, as we go from bat phone to Gordon to the phone to Bruce, and it pans across, and we manage to get Burt Ward's crotch shot in there. I don't know if that was their FU to everybody after all the fuss they made early on in the series. Maybe they knew they were on their way out and just said, to hell with it, put it in there. It's just so weird.
It is. And the timing on this entire scene is so weird, too, because the warden says, okay, you make the call to the commissioner. I'm going to go over here and take care of this and bring my men to try to stop this threat. And then it ends up that, what was it? They're all getting patched in so that Gordon already knows what's going on. He's like, oh, yeah, I already heard about that. Like, okay, who let you know? Because Bruce is supposed to be calling you to let you know what was going on. And Batman, is getting involved, too. But it seemed weird that Gordon already knew, even though it was Bruce's job to call him to let him know. You follow the logic there? Was
no,
weird.
I follow the logic. Yeah, I mean, my first thought was maybe it tripped an alarm, but it's but no. I mean, he was just kidnapped.
Yeah.
So
he was kidnapped on the street. So it's how does Gordon already know?
Yeah.
When it was Bruce's job to call, and Bruce is already setting up this whole convoluted. Okay, I got to be Batman, so. Yeah, I got to make this call here. It was kind of weird to follow.
Yeah. And it's not like we can use, because these are guys, we can use the Batgirl excuse of reading tea leaves or things like that she's done in the past.
Right.
Oh, gosh. Which she actually pulls out again, that little chestnut again. This time I think she says she was reading cards or something later on when Batman asks her about, how did you get to the bat phone?
Now, I did have a question for you about the set itself for the warden's office. I mean, we've seen the warden's office before.
Yes, several times.
And a lot of the season 3 sets are, just props and half set pieces set up on a black backdrop. So it was really good to see this one back in action. Do you know if they just left that standing or if they just had it in storage and hauled everything out? Because it really is an anomaly for this season.
My guess is it was in storage. I can't imagine that they kept it as a standing set, since they were willing to sacrifice other sets like Wayne Manor's living room. I can't imagine that they kept that as a standing. But considering it's 3 walls basically, I would just imagine they dragged it out and built it up again. But from the looks of it, it looks exactly the same as in the Ma Parker episode, as in the Catwoman episode where Bruce was the parole officer. It doesn't look like there's anything different there, other than shooting from a different angle.
Yeah, and it's really odd that they would keep that set in condition where they would, just trash out like you said, the Wayne Manor sets, where those are a bit more important to your everyday story.
Well, they were, but the thing is that they got around it by, as we see even in this episode, there's a scene there. They just do them all in the study now. It saves time. We don't have to go making excuses to Aunt Harriet. Not that she was around that much. We just, we just head for the phone every time it rings, and either Bruce or Alfred will pick it up automatically. So the living room set just became superfluous in terms of the story style for 3rd season, and it was necessary anyway, because if you ever look at the library is Wayne Manor. The arches are there still.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's a shame. It's a shame, because I always loved the living room set.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we cut to Act 1, and we see that Catwoman and Joker are in, and the appropriately named, and again, this is maybe where I'm getting to the point now where it's like they're not even trying anymore. It's called the Sleazy Hotel.
Yeah. Rooms by the year, the month, the week, and the day.
Yeah.
We don't care what you do or how long you stay, as long as you pay us.
As long as you got the money, yeah. Which conveniently is right across the street from police headquarters.
Wasn't that a swanky penthouse back in one of the Puzzler episodes?
Yes.
Through that same window? Man,
Well, I don't know about that. It wasn't that same
down.
window because Puzzler had a balcony and all.
Okay.
But it does mean, though, that Artemis Knab's penthouse apartment there from the Puzzler episode is in close approximation to the Sleazy Hotel. with both having, and they've got to be on the same side there because they've both got views of Gordon's office and the window.
Yes.
You know.
Gotham is going downhill.
It is. Maybe wouldn't that be something if that was actually the same place and it just got bought out and turned into a sleazy hotel? So inside Gordon's office, Batman and Robin are already there, as well as Barbara. Oh no, Barbara hadn't come in yet because Catwoman fires, I don't know if it's a bullet or a dart, but Batman retrieves it after stopping, and I like this.
No, hold your fire, Chief O'Hara. We're not sure which direction that bullet came from. Innocent people might be hurt. Yes?
O'Hara pulls out his gun. He's ready to shoot back.
Yeah.
Oh. And what did you think of the bat boards?
Well, I thought it was, they were a neat convenience so that, they didn't have to crawl across the stage floor to get to the window.
Right.
But I also was very pleased to see that Commissioner Gordon has dedicated space under his desk for a little bit of bat storage. I reviewed that a couple times, like, where did those come from?
It appears to be a message of some sort.
Holy special delivery.
This one was just a warning, Batman. The next one will be between your eyelids.
Any signature?
Signed, a well-wisher. Well, it seems like somebody's interested in your welfare. You stay put. We'll bat creep to the window.
You could see in a couple scenes as they set up to it, they're big and bright, and they're right under his desk on some of the wide shots. You're like, thank you, Commissioner Gordon. Thank you very much.
Somebody lose a contact lens?
Get down, Barbara.
Did you also catch the little Shakespeare bust on the table?
Yeah, I think I did.
I wonder if that was a gift from Batman.
It must have come from the Hotel Sleazy across the street. Judging from the trajectory and the angle, and figuring the wind at 6 knots per hour north by northeast as per this morning's weather report, x times 6 squared, logarithm. Yes. You see, it came from that room on that floor.
So they use the bat boards to get around, and Batman is able to determine the direction of the bullet. That's when Barbara walks in on them.
Yeah. And for a detective, and his ward and trying, they're going through all the motions of going through stuff, trying to reason things out. They spend a lot of time standing up in front of an open window with a sniper on the loose.
Yes.
Well, if they did this, we're calculating that. I'm like, get your heads down, guys. You know where it came from.
Or for that matter, just Barbara walking in and making some dopey joke when she sees them all on the floor.
Yeah.
It's like, get down. I did like, though, the whole idea of how, I don't know how accurate it all was, but just he rattles off something to determine the direction of the bullet. I like how when they get to the hotel, of course, Joker and Catwoman are gone, but Batman dusts for fingerprints. He's actually doing some detective work for a change, which we don't see a lot of in the third season.
Yeah, again, with the cutting corners on things like, okay, they knew from the story side, oh, he's doing the detective thing. He's going to reason it out, just move from action piece to action piece.
Right.
And it was really good to see him actually being the world's greatest detective again.
Jay Smith said this in a recent episode. There are times in some of these episodes when you don't have that kind of touches of the detective work and such, and you said it, action scene to action scene. You can kind of tune out as you're watching, tune back in, and you haven't lost a thing, because the rationale of how they got there doesn't matter, because there really wasn't any rationale. There was nothing even pseudoscience, pseudo-detective to get there. It's just, it's whatever. The back computer figures it out and such. So just go along with it. I know there are those people who are like, if you're going to have science, it should be real science. I'm like, as long as it's something rather than just coincidence, circumstance, or, deus ex machina, I don't even mind pseudoscience.
Yeah, as long as it's, consistent in universe. And that's one of the things about Star Trek, where when they're writing the scripts and they would throw in, technobabble here, and someone just throws something together, or they go to their science advisor and see what was reasonable, and then they'd pick from that pot of stuff. Even if it wasn't, real in our universe or even all quite on target with what's in our universe, at least it made sense.
Yeah.
And that was the important part for the story. And that's something I feel is missing here, where they, in Batman, where they just kind of move from, point to point, and they don't involve that anymore. It's like, yeah, bring us something, even if it's not real, bring us something good that's consistent in the universe, and I'll be happy.
Now, I forget, because Batgirl arrives, and while they're talking, she grabs a little piece of paper, a clue, and Robin even spots it and points it out. I forget, though, why did Batman say he let her take it? Because he said, oh, I saw that too.
Wasn't that I'm trying to remember when that quote was. There was one about the woman's inborn desire to outsmart men.
Yeah, okay, there you go. He didn't actually say I did it so it was just, he was being arrogant. He was being a jerk.
Yeah. He was letting her have her moment. Because, I guess she needed it.
I guess she needed that moment because the woman's inborn ability to outsmart, need to outsmart men. God, how insufferable is that?
I know. I groaned so loudly on both viewings of this. I was like, oh, come on, you're better than this.
Yes. So back at the lair, Catwoman's lair, we see that Joker is happy with the decor. And in fact, I got to admit, I was kind of happy too, because the set looked a little bit more decked out this time.
Yeah, it looked a lot better than most of the normal season 3 sets.
Mm-hmm. And we get goons again.
Now it's time to meet my cat's paws. Front and center, henchman. This is Giggler.
Oh, it's sure going to be nice working with you, Joker.
This is Laugher.
I've always wanted to work with you, Joker. It's a realization of my boyhood dream.
Well, thanks, fellas. Keep smiling.
As I go back and look at it again, I was like, oh, okay. So Giggler, Laugher, Smiley, and Gus?
And Gus.
Gus. Okay.
So Catwoman has this poem that she's found. It offers clues to where they can locate 1 million pounds of gunpowder so that they can then use that to blow up the reserve. I'm thinking to myself, couldn't they just steal the explosives they need to just do that? But there wouldn't be a story. There wouldn't be as much of a story then.
There wasn't as much of a story to begin with.
Because even Joker says, why don't we just steal it?
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what he would have done in the first and second season. It's what all the other supervillains have done before now. And it's like, oh no, there's this perfectly good, gunpowder in storage. It's like, okay. Yeah. I don't know how long it's been there, but sure. Go for it.
Now, in this poem, a nightshirt and a crib are involved in finding the clues to the gunpowder and such. And she's figured out where to get this nightshirt and where to get this crib. Now, this poem is supposed to be really old. And yet, somehow or another, the nightshirt and the crib are fairly modern.
Timey, wimey, wibbly, wobbly.
Yeah. We get this short scene of Barbara then trying to figure it all out. She's at the library, and we see that the poem that was supposed to be on display in the open is now gone. But there is the revolutionary microfilm that we're introducing here that she could actually access to see the poem. It was saved on microfilm. What I find interesting is, though, the entire scene, Barbara says nothing.
Meanwhile, back in her guise as Barbara Gordon, the mild-mannered librarian...
We don't even get any of this, talking to herself as she's reading it. It's all Dozier narrating it.
The document she wants is missing. But the Gotham City Library makes microcopies of everything.
I thought that was weird. Just a little bit too much. Just to sit there and watch her going back and forth and what have you, and then him just doing the narration all the time. You even have her just say something like, that's it, or I don't know. It just seemed weird.
Kind of takes away from her character a bit, too. There's been a lot of things in the third season where, Batgirl's a relatively strong character, but then, things like this where kind of the powers are a little bit like, okay, Dozier's going to do the narration on that.
Right.
And she's just going to stare at the thing. okay, you want Batgirl to be a little more than, even in her role as librarian, as Barbara Gordon, you want her to be a little more than just, okay, flipping through stuff and then out the door. You want a little more heft to the character.
Exactly, yeah. And then we get the scene, like I said, where Batgirl calls Batman from Gordon's office, and that whole thing of like, what are you doing now? Tea leaf reading, and she's like, no cards, and so again, another little thing there. She figures out that the nightshirt belongs to Little Groovy Louie, the teenage producer of music groups and such, who's never had a failed act yet. And again, like I say, this old poem to 1,000,000 pounds of dynamite that I think is like a century old or something like that, if I remember correctly. And yet the nightshirt is with this. I mean, unless it's like he just likes going around wearing old nightshirts.
That's his groove, man. That's his groove.
That's his groove. Did you catch, though, the one little slip? Because traditionally on this show, if somebody's there nearby and you're talking to them while they're on the phone, the other person on the other end can usually hear them, and Dick slips out Bruce's name.
Yeah.
Batgirl doesn't hear it.
Nope.
Oh, she's too busy probably just thinking of the next witty thing to say, because she's always trying to outsmart Batman, because that's the woman's need. God. So we cut to Act 2.
Shortly, in the groovy pad of Little Louie, the young tycoon of the recording business.
Who are you recording tonight? You never tell me anything anymore.
A new group I just discovered about 20 minutes ago called the Gotham Boulevard Off-Ramp. They ought to have the #1 record in the country a week from Tuesday. Look, I gotta make my money fast. Another couple of years, I'll be in my mid-20s. Too old for the music business. Over the hill. It's no wonder I'm insecure. Okay, split.
Ooh, what a client I got.
Louis reveals himself to be actually an older man, clean-shaven, as he gets ready for bed.
Yeah, I laughed about that one.
You laughed about that, yeah. Now, yeah. I couldn't, and did you notice who his assistant was there? Joe E. Ross, who was basically a comedian. He had this gravelly voice, and he was always doing the ooh, 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 ooh thing that he did. Like when he would be surprised. He was one half of the comedy team on Car 54, Where Are You? Him and Ed Gwynn. It's like the equivalent of a window scene.
Little Louie, you've just slipped the groove.
Who's that?
Oh, okay. He was the detective in The Love Bug. That's where I've seen him before.
Look, if you're here to rob me, I ought to warn you that I'm a karate expert and I can hurt you. So stay back. Yeah!
Karate isn't effective unless accompanied by yelling. Let him howl until he sprains a vocal cord. Then get him.
Tired! Pete! Fire! Pete! I can't yell anymore! I'm done for!
All right, boys, now.
So the goons grab the nightgown, and that's when Batman and Robin arrive, and a bat fight breaks out. Oddly enough, Batgirl doesn't show up for the fight.
Oh, I have to give you credit, Catwoman. I expected this place to be a shambles because of a fight.
As it may yet be, Joker.
So, Batman, you found us.
As you perhaps planned, Catwoman.
The mere thought of pulling a caper without your masked meddling would be most perturbing to me.
Found us you have, and get you we will. Get them, boys!
I was of two minds on this one. I was like, the bat fight music, in the third season has been shaky. But with just Batman and Robin, I expected a go back to the traditional bat fight music. I was not a fan of this one. It just did not feel right with just the two of them in there. Mm-hmm. It just was not right.
I agree with you. Anytime it was just the two of them, they should have gone back to the traditional music. That music that's for the third season is for Batgirl. If she's there, fine, go with it. But it is odd how they, I mean, there are going to be times. In fact, we just had the Londinium larcenies where in one episode they used the traditional bat fight music twice. And we're going to have it again coming up in the King Tut Mummy's Uncle episode. But still, there have been other opportunities where Batman and Robin have been alone in a bat fight and they don't go back to the music. I mean, I don't know what the reason is. They've paid for it already, unless they're just afraid to pay out too many royalties. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. What I did like about this one, though, is you see that Louis is very materialistic.
You guys ruined my apartment. It'll cost over $11,000 to replace all the goodies.
Never fear, Mr. Groovy. Full restitution will be made. Even if it takes Catwoman and Joker the rest of their natural lives to pay it off.
Where the bat fight lost me on the music, the bat fight really kind of won me with, they totally destroy his pad. And, Louis is kind of freaking out as stuff is getting trashed. But that entire set was just demolished by this fight.
Yeah, it was. Now, and that's another one of those ones where it was just really the black background and stuff. For some reason, with the bed in the center and everything, it worked for me.
It was an oddity because it actually conveyed a sense of space in there. It was really kind of a well-built set. Usually the black background stands out. This one, it just didn't. It kind of melted away, or melted away. It was really good to see.
Right. So when the fight is over, Joker tries to talk his way out of it by blaming Catwoman and offers to shake their hands. And I don't know why. I mean, again, we're 3 years into it. You'd think by now they'd know better. But they fall for it and are shocked by his deadly joy buzzer.
Yeah, and as soon as they did that, I was expecting the setup with the trap and everything else. And this is where I was really disappointed because there is no cliffhanger.
There is no, well, the entire third season, these two-parters, none of them had proper cliffhangers. What they did was just, it's a moment of tension. It's a moment of, whatever. The cliffhanger, oddly enough, the cliffhangers occur in the second episodes, in the sense of right at the beginning of the episode.
Which doesn't make any sense, thematically.
No, exactly. Yeah. And this is one of the best examples because then we come to the epilogue here where Batgirl finds them.
3 beats a minute, not too good.
She gives them her Batgirl antidote pill. I'm constantly amazed at how this woman who was in college for librarian school and such managed to do all this stuff and have all these equipments. She's even got a laser. I don't get it on her salary at the library.
What took you so long, Batgirl?
Rush hour traffic, plus all the lights were against me. And you wouldn't have wanted me to speed, would you?
Your good driving habits almost cost us our lives.
Rules are rules, Robin. But you do have a point.
Yeah, it was that chemistry elective course she had to take.
Yeah. Oh. And again, the scene where, Adam is questioning, or Batman is questioning Batgirl about, how she learned all this and such, in terms of, the poem and figuring it out and everything. He just seems off. It just seems like he's just phoning in his performance now.
Yeah.
But I did like the nice little touch because once again, as we saw, as we're going to see actually in upcoming episodes, references to Londinium. We've just had the 3-part Londinium episode, and there was a nice touch with the mention of Carnaby's of Londinium, where the crib is located.
Yeah, I mean that was really good to see that they're still maintaining a bit of continuity. Another sense of continuity that I thought was good of them to bring back in because it maintains the character. When they questioned, I think it was Robin that questioned, well, why didn't you arrive sooner? You had all the information, you weren't here with us. And Batman says, oh, she didn't break any speed laws to get here. It's okay. We know, Batman. You're the truth, justice, and oh wait, wrong superhero.
And like we said, this whole thing of a real lack of a cliffhanger, because now the three are getting ready to leave, and we see that Joker and Catwoman are outside. They're going to ambush the three.
Well, the poem would have led us to the clues, and without the clues, we're lost. We can just wait and see what their next move is.
Where could they have disappeared to so quickly?
Closer than you think. Just outside, waiting to ambush you. will Joker and Catwoman make good their perfidious plan to steal millions? For the answer to these and other cataclysmic questions, watch the next episode.
Now, okay, maybe there'll be a big bat fight at the beginning of part 2, right? Maybe that's what the whole thing is, right? No.
Please?
Yeah, please.
Instead, Batgirl's defeated by a spark plug.
Yeah. Defeated by a spark plug, she can't start her motorcycle, and they nab her while Batman and Robin head off, and they tie her to the ground with these cat whiskers that contract with the heat of her body. I've said this before, especially as she's wriggling around on the grass and such. Third season is like a minefield of fetish material.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, on the plus side with this one, I appreciate the fact that she was able to escape on her own from the trap. You know,
yes.
She didn't need help from anybody else. It's like, okay, I reasoned through this. I'm going to do this and this and this. I'm out. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, bravo for that one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, by activating the sprinklers, the cold water, retracts the wire and such, so she's able to get free. But again, it's just like, then you ask yourself, why wasn't this the cliffhanger? Why did they always set it up with a lackluster, thing to make you want to come back next week? From what I hear from different quarters, it was that exact fear of, well, if I didn't see at part 1, I'm not going to watch part 2 because I'm going to feel lost with the cliffhanger. That it's better that you actually just come into it sort of, almost like kind of a little bored, like not bored, but just kind of plain. And this way you don't feel like you've missed out on a ton of things by seeing this great cliffhanger. I don't know. The rationale never made sense. And then you'd have the cliffhanger at the end of your teaser, which then got resolved at the beginning of Act 1.
Yeah, and people coming in lost, it doesn't make sense to me either because, the second episode in the first 2 seasons, they always had the, when we last saw our heroes, and they do the entire recap of this, and now they're caught in this trap.
Right.
And it catches you up really quick. Like, okay, the Joker's the bad guy. He did this and this and this. Now he caught him in this crazy trap, and they're stuck there. And then, okay, are they going to get out? Are they going to survive? We'll find out after the credits.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
It was a perfect setup for that era of TV, and it is disappointing that they didn't do it for the 3rd season.
Yeah, and it would have made so much more sense for the 3rd season.
Yeah,
being a weekly show, if they were going to, because especially the Londinium larcenies was the worst when it came to it with each week. It was so lackluster. It's like, why would I come back? This doesn't look that all exciting. So Batman and Robin arrive back at the Batcave, where Gordon calls them with a message from Batgirl. She wants to meet with them again. We cut to Catwoman, who's showing that the nightshirt is actually a map, which shows the way to Phony Island. Kevin Lauderdale coined the phrase neo-Batisms, like when you take things like Coney Island and give, but this is a really bad one, Phony Island.
Yeah.
And the crib shows exactly where on the island to go to find the gunpowder. I gotta admit, for this scene, I did love Eartha Kitt reading the instructions in French.
De l'ex du plein, marchez 50 mètres au nord. De la 50 pieds sur la droite. Essayez de trouver une pierre plantée dans la terre.
Oh, that's the first time I ever heard a cat purr in French.
Skip the flattery, Joker, and give me the translation.
Oh, from X on the map, walk 50 meters north, then 50 feet right. Then try to find the wrong stone. Now, what's that supposed to mean?
Exactly the opposite of what it says. The poem says it's a fib. Therefore, we walk 50 meters south, then 50 feet left to find the right stone.
Oh, it's easy when you know the key. Well, shall we go?
We shall, Joker.
It's funny because Batman won't grab them right away. He wants to follow them to their final destination, which he's done in the past. So, I can't really fault that one.
Yeah.
We get to the Phony Island Lighthouse. Worst studio exterior ever. You know, they don't do a lot of exteriors in studio, but the ones that they've done, there's one in particular, a first season Joker episode where it's nighttime and they're out in this wooded area and they have to sneak in via air ducts into Joker's hideout and such. But with the way the lighting is and the set place, it almost looks like they could be outside. But this is awful.
This was terrible.
This was really terrible. Inside the lighthouse, we're introduced to the keepers, Mr. and Mrs. Keeper of the lighthouse, and they're arguing. I looked them up. I don't see any, like who they were at the time. I couldn't see anything that I could relate to anyway.
Yeah, I think that, and as we'll probably discuss later too, because of where this episode goes, I think that they realized at this point that they were, you know, running short on time with the way they'd set it up, and this might have just been a padding thing to try to get a little more humor injected.
Right. Criminals are spotted. They make their way to the lighthouse, and the trio try to stop them. But as Joker and Catwoman try to flee, Joker finds the stash.
Look! There it is! The gunpowder! It's all clearly marked!
Gunpowder?
Put that match out, you fool!
And it's just conveniently hidden behind this wall within the lighthouse.
It's going to explode!
Let's get out of here!
There's no time.
Stay calm, everybody.
I never noticed that wall was, had moved before. Huh, weird.
And it's like right out of a Bugs Bunny cartoon, except just this time we just got to have something to explain it. Here's your pseudoscience. He had some sort of gizmo that's protected them all.
Yeah. The anti-blast bat powder.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
My goodness. Now, I did like this little bit here because there's Catwoman, and she calls Lucky Pierre, the criminal attorney, to help get them off. And we cut to the trial, which this is the most painful part of the entire two-parter, because Pierre's there and he's like, we haven't got a chance because Batman's handling the prosecution.
Yeah, I think this is the reason I could not watch this again. This trial hurts.
You know, and it's so funny because you would think something as goofy as this, Adam might have some fun with it and just go wacky doodle, just at this point, to hell with it. But I guess he was put off by it too because he's really off. I mean, like his whole delivery, his performance, it's cringeworthy.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are gathered here today to prove that Catwoman, Joker, and their men are guilty of several major offenses, to wit, robbery, attempted murder, assault, and battery, mayhem, and overtime parking.
Yeah.
You know, when he makes his opening statement, he sounds, because I make this distinction. There's Adam West from the 60s, and then there's Adam West post-Batman. And the Adam West post-Batman is the Adam West who, for some reason, got stuck in those last episodes of Batman, and he acts more like that than he does like the debonair, suave first and second season guy. So his opening statement, he's shifting. He's starting to sound more just like that goofy kind of, I don't know, that really irritates me sometimes.
Yeah, he's made a lot of money on that persona.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look at him now, you're like, okay, Adam West, goofy guy, got it.
Yeah. That's why I'm like really concerned if this animated film is really taking place, which people say it is, but we've seen nothing. Would have thought by now, considering how far back they announced it, we might have seen something at Comic-Con this time around. Nope. Nothing.
Nope.
You know, but I really, to be perfectly frank, I almost don't want it to happen because I really don't want to hear goofy Adam West doing Batman. I know Burt Ward will be fine. I got no problem with that. Burt Ward still sounds, I mean, maybe a little older in the voice, but he still has that enthusiasm like Robin. I'm like, cool. And Julie Newmar, if she's supposed to be in it, she'll be fine. But Adam, I can't see him getting back to what I say is the distinction between first and second season and third season. First and second season, Adam West was the joke. Everything else around him was like, and he would be the deadpan, and it's like, really, you're not looking at the ridiculousness of this city? Nope, because this is Gotham City. Third season, it's, I want to be part of the joke. I don't want to be the joke. I want to laugh with you guys. And so he just starts acting goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with his appearances lately, like, well, I guess not lately, but recently on Family Guy and everything else, I share your concern because he's always just the goofy guy all the time.
Right.
And if they do go back with this animated movie to kind of follow up with Batman, I want to see what worked, not what didn't work.
Exactly. Yes. There you go. So Batman questions Louis and then Carnaby and then the Keepers, and Pierre doesn't cross-examine any of them. In fact, he calls no witnesses. Batman offers his closing statement, and again, he's hamming it up as he's doing it.
Batman's about to sum up.
Gentlemen of the jury, you've heard the evidence of 14 separate witnesses, including Robin the Boy Wonder and Batgirl, each one of them corroborating the other's story that those defendants are guilty of all the crimes with which they are charged. In the interests of law, order, justice, good fellowship, and the flag, you must convict them to keep our streets safe from evil persons. Thank you.
You were great, Batman.
Sit down, Robin. Thank you.
Yes, you learned your lessons well, Batman.
Begorra.
Lucky Pierre is standing. He's going to let us have it now.
The defense waives summation in this case. We stand on our plea of not guilty. And we feel sure that the jury will bear out the truth in this case.
So be it. Jury's ordered to the jury room for deliberation.
No need for that, Your Honor. We have already made up our minds.
That's a good sign. This should be some sort of legal record for convictions by a jury.
We find the defendants, Catwoman, Joker, Giggler, Laughter, Smiley, and Gus, not guilty of any of the charges.
Yeah. Order in the court. Order, I say.
There's something very catfishy about this whole thing, Batman.
I think it's a fix.
That's the way the law is, Robin. They've received a fair trial and been adjudged not guilty. Every man is entitled to his day in court. We must abide by the jury's decision.
This is worse than To Kill a Mockingbird.
Normally, after any case, I never make a statement to the jury. However, today I cannot resist. Never in my 30 years on the Gotham City bench have I ever seen a more callous disregard for the facts in a case. You are all to be chastised for making a travesty out of the judicial process.
Ah, stow it, Judge. The case is over. Quit flapping your yap.
Hey, that's no foreman. That's Marvin the Moose. He used to work with Catwoman.
And this second fellow is Dave the Dummy. He's also worked with Catwoman. Your Honor, I move for a new trial.
On which of several grounds?
On the grounds of a prejudicial jury.
You don't know how prejudicial, Batman. All right, now.
And we get a doozy of a bat fight breaking out. But I gotta admit, it's a shame the jurors didn't get involved. And
that was in my notes. It's like, you've got all these henchmen in there who, they obviously can fight because they're henchmen. And they all just sit there and watch.
Yeah. You've got Batman, Robin, and Batgirl in the courtroom. The others are already fighting. You're a criminal. Jump in there. Maybe you can finish him off.
Yeah, and while this bat fight, I considered it better than the first one as far as overall feeling. This one, because it didn't have the Lucky Louie guy in there, or the Groovy Louie guy in there, the destruction of the set, it just felt like it was an added-on bonus to it. It wasn't played for laughs because who cares who destroyed the courtroom?
Right. I thought it was a shame. I did like the fact that Yvonne, it looks like that's her on the chandelier swinging at one point. But it also looked like Batgirl might mix it up with Catwoman, but instead she just grabs hold of her and passes her over to O'Hara to hold on to. Once again, can't do much in the way of punching and stuff, and so we're not going to get a, excuse the pun, a cat fight, but in the end, that fight ends.
What now?
You're on your way to prison, Catwoman. Will you never learn that you cannot outwit the law?
Maybe one day I will, Batman. Perhaps.
You'll never succeed in circumventing justice, Catwoman.
Not as long as honest and dedicated law enforcers have a breath left.
Oh, forget the morals. Just get us back to jail so we don't have to listen to these corny jokes.
Batman and Robin and Batgirl save the day. And one of the things I hate most about this series, that they started in the second season with Gordon, and now Batman's doing it more and more, is looking right at the camera and pontificating.
But morals are the stuff men are made of. And until criminals learn that, our job will not be done. However, if and when they do, we'll be only too ready to hang up our capes and cowls.
Yeah.
We talked about this in The Secrets of ISIS. A lot of times Andrea Thomas will look at the camera and wink as though, hey kids, we all know, this. That's fine. But here in Batman, I forget who it was that pointed me out why it bothers me so much. Because the world is so absurd. You don't want to sit there and then wink at the camera and go, yeah, we get it, kids. The world is absurd.
Yeah.
Because it shatters the illusion.
When you're watching the show, you feel like you're watching the events happening elsewhere. And then when Batman turns to you and says, essentially, hey, this is all part of your world, you're like, but my world seems relatively sane. So now you're just a comic relief.
Yeah. Because, again, it's like we've got Catwoman and Joker teamed up, and it all falls apart.
Yeah. I did get a kind of a laugh out of the, as absurd as they were, the statements about, that the Batman was throwing out there. The bad guys were guilty, or they were being charged with robbery, attempted murder, assault and battery, mayhem, and overtime parking. I kind of laughed at that one. Like, okay, yeah, that's a little more of the goofy, bit in there that you kind of expect a little bit out of this show, but it wasn't enough to save this dire trial thing.
No, it wasn't. No, there were little things that you could laugh at for a moment, but yeah, it just, it's painful. It's painful. Yeah. All right, so let me ask you this: was there a Bat gadget that stood out to you?
Oh, one that stood out, not necessarily. I mean, and this is really the downfall of the third season, where there's just not that much cool Bat gadgety stuff.
Yeah.
I think out of the ones that were presented, the antidote pill from Batgirl was probably the best one.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go with. Just and just marveling at the fact that she's got, pharmacological skills to make these. Right. It's either that, or there is one other possibility that Alfred's been slipping her supplies.
That is a possibility, because both in this one he knows the secret, and I think in other versions of the Batman mythos, they actually work together so that, Alfred's actually, helping her to get on her feet as a superhero, make sure she doesn't get killed.
Except that, you'd need a line there where Batman, after taking her pill, which she's just now renamed, looks and goes, this tastes like my particular cherry flavor brand. Okay, trivia question from Joel Eisner's official Batman Bat book. Pierre, the criminal attorney, when he's talking to Catwoman, we see his desk, and he has a picture of a particular president on his desk. Who's that man?
That is President Nixon.
Yes.
which was funny. I pointed that out in my notes because Pierre Salinger was the press secretary to Kennedy and Johnson. So it was kind of an interesting dynamic, or interesting twist to see Nixon's picture on the desk.
Yeah. So, okay, you're Robin the Boy Wonder. You've watched this actually a couple of times, maybe too many, and it's the end of the episode. You turn to Batman, and how do you sum it up in a holy what?
Holy disappointing denouement. I mean, it had so much potential. It had so much that could have possibly worked. And then not even, 10 minutes into the second episode, it's like, and we're going to take these guys to trial. It's like, no, please, God, no.
Did you think that maybe the first episode was better than the second?
The first episode was definitely better than the second.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And if it had a definite cliffhanger and then had a better second half to follow it up, it would have been a great episode.
Yeah.
Or even if it had just skipped the entire trial portion altogether, which made absolutely no sense with the rest of the plot, and just been a single episode with, maybe the pseudo cliffhanger in the middle, that would have been great too.
Right.
But it felt like they just padded this and stretched it to make it a two-parter for absolutely no reason.
Because that first part, I mean, I pointed out, there's Batman doing real detective work. And there is somewhat of a nod to the first and second season where it's like, okay, we have to do this, this, and this to get to the end game. The end game, though, came way too quickly. And so because of it, your entire second act is a courtroom scene that makes absolutely no sense. It's just ridiculous. I mean, there was nothing clever about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have to say holy lethargy, Batman, because at this point, Adam West has lost it. He's either phoning it in or he's hamming it up. He swings both ways. There's nothing of the Batman, Adam West, Bruce Wayne that we know and have loved in the first and second seasons. I've said it before. He's no longer wanting to be the joke, but he just wants to be part of it. And to be honest, episode 2 in particular was painful just to watch. It's poorly written. It's poorly acted. Cesar Romero, Eartha Kitt, and Yvonne Craig, you've got these three dynamic people. They can't save it.
I do love the Eartha Kitt Catwoman. I mean, she's definitely not on the same par as our two previous, with Leah Merriweather and Julie Newmar, but she brings something else fantastic to the role. I mean, we saw it with how sultry she is, with the way she was doing the French. I mean, everything really works in that regard, and it's just a shame that she got bogged down with this screenplay.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Oh, well, it's all a slippery slope from this point on, actually. It started with Londinium Larson. There'll be moments still. There's still a few. I mean, I know I'm looking forward to a King Tut episode in particular. And actually, I always was fond of the Shame two-parter myself. So those things to look forward to. But a lot of this is just going downhill, including the next episode. But before we talk about that, Michael, what's going on with you? Podcasting. You've also got your Doctor Who review blog going on.
Yeah, as you mentioned before, I'm here nearly every week on the Chronic Rift Network, doing the Weekly Podioplex, which is just a movie news podcast. But I've also got the blog that you're talking about on creativecriticality.wordpress.com. It's called the Timestamps Project. It's part of my overall Creative Criticality blog. But I was inspired a while back to go back and start watching Doctor Who from the very beginning of the franchise, because I grew up, or I shouldn't say I grew up. I discovered Doctor Who on Netflix with Eccleston and Tennant. And as I started really falling in love with that universe, I thought, well, where does all this stuff come in from before that people keep talking about? So I've been going back serial by serial, story by story, and watching those, and then writing little micro reviews on my blog, and just really enjoying that journey. I'm up to the fourth Doctor right now. I think I just finished season 12, which was the fourth Doctor's introductory season, and get ready to move into season 13. It's definitely been a great adventure, a great journey, and I'm having a lot of fun with it.
And it is cool to see you, because I've been following it along and stuff. And for the most part, you and I seem to, connect there in terms of like how we feel about stories and stuff like that. A little surprised about the genesis of the Daleks, that you didn't look at it as the overall master, like the way many of us do. We're all like, this is the best Doctor Who's ever been. I mean, you're like, it's good, but,
Yeah, I had a lot of comments about that too, because people just adore that episode. They put it up on a pedestal, and I looked at it and I said, yeah, it was good. And there's a lot of great Doctor Who mythos and a lot of the character that you expect from the character, and a lot of the foundation and stuff you expect from the character, the strength that you see in the character as we move forward. But it was definitely padded in places, and they could have taken a few shortcuts and cut down the episode length. So yeah, it was a 4 out of 5, and people are like, I'm so surprised. I'm like, well,
Yeah, no, I see. I'll be curious when you get to the Douglas Adams era of Doctor Who with Tom Baker, and in particular the one episode he wrote called City of Death. That you talk about pedestal. Everybody puts that thing up on a pedestal, and to me, I'm like going, that episode is exactly what was wrong with that whole era. To me, it was Batman third season. It's like, we're Doctor Who and Tom Baker is mighty and we can do whatever the hell we want, and it just wasn't. I don't find it all that particularly good, that story. So when you get to it, I'll be really curious to see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, a lot of people in Doctor Who fandom will rate it based on how it correlates to the rest of the franchise and the rest of the mythology. Like, oh, this is really good, a good Doctor tale. This one was pretty bad. Like, the Gunfighters, I think it was, for example. People really rate that one low. I gave it a higher rating, and it's mostly because it was entertaining. I mean,
yes.
There's a lot of parts where it does fall apart. Where I think one of them was the Sontaran experiment, which I had recently done. It logically makes no sense whatsoever, but when you look at it as, was it an entertaining tale? Did it actually stand out and make me care about watching it? Did I not want to turn it off and forget this entire experiment overall? That's really how the rating comes in. It's an off the cuff, from the gut. As soon as I finished that last episode, like, how did I feel about that? That was a 4. That was a 3. Oh, that one was a 1. I'm never watching that again.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of comments from people who were, how I'm surprised at how you do that. And I'm like, it's entertainment. It's not, this isn't Shakespeare. This isn't, deep literature. This is an entertainment series that's 50 years old that, I'm going back and looking at and trying to find the worth and the value in. And this is how I'm doing it.
You ever think about doing something like that with Batman?
I've considered it. Yeah. There's a couple of series that are actually, sitting in the back burner in my brain. Like, if I get some time after I finish this, because this is going to be a while.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've honestly thought about, kind of expanding out and doing some at the same time to kind of to break that monotony up, because it's every week I'm watching, a Doctor Who serial, and I'm finding time to stick it in there with life and in general on top of it. And sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's, sometimes I find a block where I can plug in 2 or 3 weeks worth of watching in there, so I can keep the regularity on the blog. And the other times where I'm just like, oh crap, I'm behind and this thing's due tomorrow. Okay, we got to sit down tonight.
Well, very cool. Well, we'll definitely have links up so people can follow that as well to your site overall, so this way they can keep up with it there. And folks, don't forget, usually every Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on, because this is a collaboration. Mike does the recordings and such, and he puts it all together, and then I sort of edit it down for him. So sometimes I get a little behind with the editing and such, but usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, once a week, like Mike said, the Weekly Podioplex. You should check it out. So, Mike, once again, thank you so much for agreeing to take part in this, and I'm sorry.
No, it was definitely good to talk to you and good to go through this one. And even though the subject matter wasn't the most stellar, it was definitely fun to talk Batman. I love doing that. I love looking at all these shows and stuff, and trying to find some amount of entertainment and value out of them. So I had a good time. Thank you.
Thank you. So, folks, next time, Louis the Lilac is back, and I'm joined to discuss his return by fan Joseph Culp. Here we go, folks, down the slippery slope that is the end of Batman 66. So until next time, citizens, thank you so much for listening. Once again, Michael, everyone, take care. Thanks for listening, chums. I don't have a bat phone, but you can contact the Batcave Podcast through its Facebook page, Twitter, email at thebatcavepodcast@gmail.com, or by phone at 888-866-9010. Subscribe to the podcast via Libsyn.com, that's LIBSYN.com, or through iTunes. The Batcave Podcast is part of a series of pop culture podcasts from the Chronic Rift Network. Find them at chronicrift.com. So until next time, citizens, same bat time, same Batcave Podcast.
At least we met some very interesting characters. Little Louis Groovy, Carnaby Cats, Mr. and Mrs. Keeper.
Don't forget Lucky Pierre.
Yeah.
Yes. If he hadn't gone so wrong, he might have had a fine career in politics. Won a gubernatorial race, the White House even.
I guess it just wasn't in the books.
Speaking of books, I promised I'd call my daughter at the library.
Oh.
Bonnie.
While at the library,
Louis the Lilac. What are you doing here? What are you doing with that boutonniere? I remember the time you stunned my friend Princess Primrose with an invisible knockout spray.
This is not an invisible knockout spray, Miss Gordon. It is essence of lilacs. A scent which I intend to corner the perfume market of Gotham City. I thought that the police commissioner's daughter should be my first recipient.
Gotham Public Library. Oh, Daddy, am I glad you called. You'll never guess who was just in here.
Louis the Lilac. Back in Gotham City?
and Louis the Lilac is indeed back in Gotham City and planning much more than just cornering the perfume market, as you'll see in our next episode.